Welcome to Inspirational Journeys, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kelly Martin, who is not only a middle grade horror writer, but she's also an editor. So, we're going to talk about both editing and writing today. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers?
Well, I'm Kelly Martin. I write middle grade, young adult stories. I've been writing for about 10 years. I've written everything from scary stories to inspirational stories. I'm also a teacher. I teach pre-K, and I'm an editor. I do developmental edits.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, what inspired you to start writing?
I always loved writing. When I was in school, I remember in 6th grade, we had 20 spelling words a week, and we got to pick 10 of those words and write stories with them. Like, we had to write a 1-page story using all 10 of those words, and that was my favorite assignment. I look forward to it. We did it on Mondays, either Monday or Wednesdays, but I can't remember what day it was, but I remember I always looked forward to it. And then we got to read it in front of the class if we wanted to, which was the best thing ever. I loved it. And so I started liking to write then. And then in high school, when I was a senior, we had to write a story, and one of the teacher had the principal read it because she really liked it and he really liked it. And I was like, okay. So that was fun. I was like, okay, I like having people. Maybe I can do this. And then I started in college writing fan fiction, which you do. And then I thought, well, if I can do fan fiction, then see if I can write my own stuff. And that's been 11 years now.
Wow. I know. I started really getting serious about writing like 12 years ago. I mean, I've done off and on before then, but things happen in my life, and so I had to I had to put it down, and then I picked it back up. So and now, which is I think is one of the reasons it's leading me to editing. So did the writing lead you to becoming an editor, or how did that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I never thought about being an editor. I always wanted to be a writer, and then I've had some wonderful editors through my entire writing career. It can't be a line editor or a proofreader or anything that has to do with grammar, because I'm not good at that. No. But I love doing developmental edits. I love doing content edits. I love working with authors to make their stories shine. I love giving suggestions on how to make stories maybe flow a little better. I love finding plot holes in other people's books. It's so fun when somebody finds them in mine. But if I can find people's books, it's fun. And then I get to point it out, and then we work on ways to fix it. So that is really fun.
Oh, I bet. So did you take any classes for editing?
I didn't. No, I know they do have some classes for developmental editors. I have a friend that's taking a class right now, and there's some free classes, there's some paid classes. I've just used a lot of what I liked as an author. When I had my developmental edits, I've had many developmental editors. I've worked with 3 publishing companies and then independently. So I've worked with a lot of developmental editors, and there were some styles that I connected with better than other styles. I like to welcome, I'm so glad that I'm getting to read your story, which I always am. I'm always loving to read it. I love giving positive messages. I do either the lines, like inline edits. I do those, or I do where you just get a page of like an evaluation of the book. I love to give the positive things that stick out as awesome in a book, because I know I always needed that encouraging that this book is not terrible. Like, there are things about it that work. I've had some editors that didn't give any positive feedback, and I just wanted to shelve those books. I was like, it's not gonna work. And they wasn't bad books, and the editors wasn't bad. It was just I needed somebody to kind of be a cheerleader, and that's what I try to do for my editing clients, is be a cheerleader. Be like, okay, this might not work. It might not be working. Let's figure out a way that it is, or this is fantastic. I need to know what happens and give encouragement as we go through it. Because I love to read developmental edits as at least the first time through, like a reader, and what they might be thinking and what works and what doesn't work. So that's what I like to do.
You sound like me, because I was working with an author friend of mine and Jen's, and I read her book through first to see, what she'd written and everything. And then I realized she needed a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be honest, before I started taking this intro to children's book editing through the Editorial Freelancers Association, I doubted myself. But see, not only I like to do developmental edits, but I'm not as proficient at it, because I've been known to stick in line edits into the developmental edits, but line edits are where my strongest skill sets are. But I'm finding that I really loved the class that I did, and I like to read the manuscript first to kind of get a feel for it, because I've gotten to learn how to do the voice. So how do you, and I'm asking this from a business standpoint, because I'm trying to figure this out myself. How do you figure out your pricing?
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Well, that's hard. I've done a few different things. I have done it by word, like 9 cents per word, I think. Not 9 cents. It's 0.009, whatever that is in cents.
Okay.
Per word. I've done so many, so much per page. I've done a lot of things. And what I think I've really decided on is, if it's under 100,000, I usually do one price. And if it's over 100,000, I usually do another price. And and if it depends on the type of edit too. If you want just an evaluation where you don't do the inline comments, it's cheaper because it doesn't take me as long. And I keep a notebook, I write everything down, and then everything that I'm thinking of at the time, and then I'll put it into evaluation. Some people like that better as a newer writer. I don't think I would. I think as a newer writer, I would want the in manuscript edit where it has the comments on the side, because you could see, like, I can tell you exactly what I'm talking about there. It's not as vague. And if I do an evaluation, sometimes I will put the page number that I'm talking about if it's something really specific that I think, okay, this needs to be done. But you do get a choice. When I always do samples, I usually do about 5 pages of a sample edit, and I always give samples of developmental and evaluation, and developmental with comments. And that way the author can see which way they want to go, which way they want to, pay. My evaluations, like I said, are always less expensive, usually, unless I'm super busy with either edited writing or work. I can usually get an evaluation back in about a week or 2. And then I usually get, if I do the comments, usually between 2 and 3 weeks. So, and I always put that in the bid too, unless something happens, or if I think something might happen, I'll spread it out a little bit more. But I found that for me, I think it's easier to do. Now, I'm not going to charge the same for a 20,000 word as I am a 80,000 word.
No.
But generally speaking, I guess between 50 and 100 is one price point, and then anything over 100 is a separate one. I just think that's easier.
Yeah, and it would be easier. And then if you add more, and if you add, and my instructor, you sound like her too, because she likes to cheer people on. She doesn't like the harsh edits, and I love her for that.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, Heidi Fiedler, Feidler. She's the instructor. She's an editor and a writer too. So yeah, I've loved working with her.
Yeah.
But so how do you find your clients? I'm just like I said, I'm picking your brain
No,
because
that's fine.
I'm doing this. I'm new at this, and I'm trying to,
Yeah. So my one of my publishers, it was Monster Ivy. I asked the owner if she knew of if she needed anybody to help her, or if she knew of any jobs in publishing, because I needed some, extra money is always useful.
Oh yeah.
So she
Definitely.
said that she knew a publishing company who might be looking for developmental editors. And I was like, oh, okay. So I contacted them. I took 2 or 3 tests and passed the test. And so I'm a freelance developmental editor through them. It's Eschler Editing. And I'm also, I've done that it'll be a year, I think, this summer. Love it. It's fantastic. They get possible bids, and I work with a project assistant, not assistant, oh my gosh.
Project manager?
Yes, project manager. And she messaged me and she's like, hey, would you be interested in this? Give me a sample of bid timeline. So I'm like, okay. So I'll look through it, see if I'm interested in. Some things I get and some things I don't get, which is sad when you don't get them. But people get bids. They can go to any different editing service they want. So I mean, that's really helpful. And then when Jen started Monarch, she asked me. I told her, I was like, if you need any help doing edits, I'd be more than happy to. And she's like, oh, okay. So she started sending me edits, and then she was like, I guess you could be a developmental editor. I was like, yay! So I do a lot of developmental edits for them.
Yeah.
So it's I really, really like it. And then I got my first independent client a few months ago. I had a referral from an author friend who is cutting back on editing, actually. She's only doing proofreading now, and she gave my information to him. He messaged me. I did a sample edit. He really liked it. He just did an evaluation, and we worked well together, and it's gone very well.
Well, that's good. So, and I'm wondering about that because, I mean, and I know I've looked at publishing jobs. I wanted to do freelance because I've looked at some of the jobs working with publishers, and you have to have a bachelor's degree, which is something I don't have. So that's why I wanted to do freelance.
Yeah. Well, that's why. No, there are some places that you can get a certificate. Like I said, I have a friend that's going through now to get an editor. I think she's doing more of the proofreading, copy edits, what she wants to do.
Mhm.
But I think at least the place that I work for, you do take a test, and it's pretty strict, tests of what they give you a manuscript that has. They know what the issues are, and you have to go through and try to find it and how you would edit it. So that worked out really good. But yeah, for a bigger publisher, they probably want you to have some kind of degree. I don't know.
And so much experience. I wouldn't mind working for smaller publishers, but I was just curious how that worked because me getting started. Do you have any tips
for getting started?
Mm-hmm.
I would Google any editing service you can find, and then look to see if they're hiring, or look to see if it says, work for me, or if you could do freelance from there, and then send them an email, or however it says to contact them that way. Personally, I think I would go that route first before you try to get your own clients, because then you can say, okay, I didn't know how to do a bid. I didn't know how to do any of that. So you can kind of learn on the job. You can learn how to do a bid. You can learn, what might be too much, what might not be too much, a sample edit, things that you would like to do if you do get a freelance person. And I have got more clients through them than I did on my own, which I mean, the on my own is building too. But I think I would go through, if you can, some kind of editing service first. And there's a bunch of them. So you could probably find one, just Google it and try to find one that you think would fit, would be a good fit for you. And then go from there. See how to work for them, or how to be a freelance writer or editor for them.
Okay, because I know Reedy's out there, but you have to be more experienced, I think, to work with them.
Reedy rant. So I tried to get on Reedy after I was already working with Eschler, been working on it with them for a while. I think I'd already been working with Jen. I thought, okay, I'm gonna get on Reedy, so I'm gonna try to get more clients. So I did the whole profile, did the whole everything you have to do on Reedy. And then at the very end, they say, okay, list the Amazon pages for the books you've edited. Okay. For Reedy, the book, you have to have at least 3 published books that you have edited that's not your books. So every book that I had edited has not been published yet. So I can't get on Reedy until any of those books, whenever that happens, gets published.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so that is the annoying thing about Reedy, and it's good, I guess, to kind of weed out, I don't know, people, but I think if you're going to send somebody a sample edit, that should be just as good as a book that might possibly be published. Because if I edited a book last year, and let's say it got picked up by a publisher, it may not come out for 2 or 3 years. So that's 2 or 3 years that I can't put that book on Reedy that I published it. So that's a very big con with Reedy. And I still get emails every once in a while from them. And they're like, you need to update your profile or finish your profile. And I'd be like, I would be more than happy to finish my profile if you would change it to where I could.
Right. Because, you can't control when the publisher publishes a book. Actually, I think one of your books, though, does come out next month.
Does it?
Yeah, Kara's book comes out.
Yes, I can count that one.
Yes,
2 more.
And then Kara's book, and then Ashley's book in August, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so by the end of the year, I should hopefully be able to update.
Yeah, you should be able to get your Reedy profile up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Monarch books have been fantastic. They've been so much fun to read and to edit, and I can't wait for them to come out so everybody can enjoy them.
Now, when you talk about editing services, are you talking about something like Fiverr or Elance, or are you talking about other services? Because
no, I would do like an editing company. Fiverr, you can go there anyway. You don't have to have anything on any type of degree or anything on Fiverr. I meant like an editing company. There's some editing companies some companies that only edit. I know there's one, oh my goodness, what's it called? Indie Books Gone Wild. I don't think they're hiring anybody right now, but it's a company that only does edits. So they're an Eschler, like I work for, that only does edits. Okay. And there's several more that do that.
Okay, I'll definitely take a look. So let's talk about your fake Nora series. First of all, let's switch gears to the writing, because I could ask you questions about editing all day long.
And I would answer them.
I know, and I may be emailing you back and forth and saying, hey, I'm gonna Google it, and if I can't, and if I'm not knowing what I'm looking for, then we may be emailing back and forth. But
that'd be fun.
But tell me about your writing process. Are you an outliner? I mean, a plotter, or do you pants? Or
I'm so much of a pantser. It's so bad. Yeah, I'm terrible. If I know how a book is gonna end, I have a hard time writing. Like, I don't want to know how it ends. And I would love to write a thriller, but this is no way to write a thriller. Like, I need an actual plot to write a thriller.
Yeah, so, you do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I try to outline. I'm better now than I used to be. I used to never write anything down. I just started with the first word, wrote to the last word, and then went back when I did edits to change things. But now I do have, a small, tiny outline, like plot points I want to hit. But no, nothing big.
You like me, bare bones. But then I start doing more, especially when I'm doing freelance. I mean, especially when I'm going back into revisions, because I learned something too, and I'm gonna if she okays it, I'm gonna send you a resource that Heidi gave me in the class, 100 questions to ask your manuscript.
Okay.
Honestly, I think every author should have this, because it's, and editors too, because this might be helpful. And she talks about something called a book map. Though I am developing a writing method called the plot stitch, because I crochet and I write. So I'm gonna call it the book pattern and in mine. But Cheryl Klein's The Magic Words, she gives you a book map template that you can either use or you can create your own. I didn't know if you'd ever done something like that.
I've not, but I would like to.
Okay. But yeah, get The Magic Words by Cheryl Klein too. She has, I like that. That was a recommended read, and she talks about middle grade and YA, but that book map, and there's some other things that she talks about in there. I really like her book.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah. So tell me about, okay, so now you got this fake Nora series. I tried to read the first one. I had to stop for a while because it was creepy.
Well, thank you.
It was creepy. It's like the girl gets sucked into the mirror, and then this being, oh my gosh, I had to stop. Oh, no. I'll get back to it, but I had to stop for a little while because I'm like, ugh, this is crazy. Yeah,
some people are like, well, how do you write, or we can't read this at night. I'm like, well, I write them at night, so it's fine.
I can't read it while I'm eating, this for sure.
There you go.
So, what was the inspiration behind this series?
I don't like mirrors. Basically, I know I use mirrors, obviously, but I think of all the things in the world, they are the creepiest besides cameras. They're just creepy. Well, I know one time, I'm getting my glasses are fogging up, but one time I was watching, I think it was Alice Through the Looking Glass, I think. And it was she was walking down the stairs and she was looking through the mirror, and her family was on the other side of the mirror, and they were just having their happy little life, going about their happy little way. And she was just watching them from behind the mirror, and that has stuck with me. And then I remember one time I was watching a commercial for Twin Peaks, the TV show. Mm-hmm. And I was young, and there was a girl, she had a pretty pink purple shirt. And I remember it being pretty and purple because I love purple, is my favorite color. And I was watching it, and she like reached for the mirror, and the mirror hand reached toward her. And, it came out of the mirror, freaked me out. So I've not been a terribly, big fan of those ever since. But so it, in a lot of my books, mirrors have a big part in it, in the scariness factor. But I wanted to have a character that was a little bit different, that was not a typical ghost, not a typical monster, not something that is in typical stories. I wanted to create something different. So I thought, and I'm sure there are, but I have rarely read one of. She's the no spoilers, but the creature that comes out of the mirror she lives on eating fear. So that's why she likes to come to people's houses and tries to make them afraid. So I thought that would be interesting. I wanted to write a middle grade because I wanted something that my kids would read, because they won't read my other books. So I wanted to have them something that they could read. And yeah, I don't know exactly where it came from, but I really like Nora. I love going to antique stores. So, and I did have I still have it. I had one since I was like 11 or 12, an old mirror. And the mirror that's described in the book is exactly like the mirror I have in my house. So hopefully nothing will come out of it.
Oh, wow. That was weird.
Yeah.
Only in fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm on the other end of the stream. I'm writing fantasy chapter books.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I tried to do a mystery and I had to put it aside. I'm like, I can't do this. I mean, there's a lot of research that has to go into it. And my heart was in the fan. I love reading them, but it's harder to write them. So now my heart's in this fantasy thing. And other than a little bit of world building I need to do at the end, I just finished the first draft of this one. So, yeah. So I've got work to do, but. And I'm gonna put
it will happen. The first draft is always the hardest. The most fun, but it's always the hardest.
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna book pattern this one because I'm gonna get her template and create my own. And I'm gonna start going through scene by scene, chapter by chapter, scene by scene, mapping it out, writing down the so-called the pattern. Because let me explain why I call it the book pattern. Because with a crochet pattern, you have instructions round by round or row by row, whichever whatever you're gonna make. So why not lay out your book that way, chapter by chapter, scene by scene?
That's true. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people do the sticky notes on the wall. I've seen people do that. So yeah, I would love to do that, and if I ever did that mystery that I really want to write, that's what I'll have to do.
Yeah, but you'll get there. You may have to do a lot more research, but
yeah.
And like Jen always tells us, study the genre too. So that's why I've been reading children's fantasy. Some of the classic ones, some of the new ones. I'm almost finished with Neverending Story. Oh my gosh, I love that book.
Oh,
did you see
the movie? Read The Storm Sneezer? It's Christiana Surflet. I think I'm saying her last name right. She's a Monarch author, and it's a fantasy, middle grade fantasy.
Oh, she must be a new one.
Is she Monarch? No, she's not Monarch. She's Monster Ivy. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I can probably find her.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I can probably find her. So now I've got the new book linked in the show notes, but what's the new book and when did it come out?
The new book is The Bad Ones. It's a sequel to Fake Nora, and it came out Saturday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just came out.
Oh, wow. That is so cool.
I just got the paperback yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips you want to leave writers?
Oh, goodness.
Or let me count the tips, right?
It's not easy. It doesn't get any easier with any book release. It's still very scary to put a book out. But when somebody reads your book and they tell you that they love it or that it's their favorite book, or if you're writing a middle grade and a person that's 11 or 12 comes up and tells you how much they love it, that's what makes it worth it. That's the fun part. That's why you remember why your brain hurt trying to write so much, is when people enjoy it, when they like your story, when you know that you possibly either help somebody through a character in your story or just gave somebody some entertainment for a while, or a kid enjoys reading because of something you wrote. That's the good parts. And I have a little notebook where I've written down a lot of the nice things people have said, because you tend to remember, maybe a bad book release or a book release that didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or a series that didn't go the way you want it to go, or maybe you had issues with uploading, or maybe you got one bad review but you got 50 good reviews, and you always remember the bad. So I try to write down the good things so I can go back, and if I'm having a rough day, when I think, okay, I'm never going to write another word again, and then I can go back and look at that and be like, okay, Yeah. Yeah. We all know I am. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's not easy, but it's, as the cliche goes, it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, and I know there are some writers out there who will tell you write every day. Well, that doesn't always work.
No, and sometimes you get burned out. I had a goal years ago where I was going to write every day, so many words every day, and I just got burned out. I couldn't do anymore. So I've got to where I'll go a month or two without writing, and then I'll write, I don't know, 70,000 words a month in the next month, you know? So I found that for me, if I don't write for a while, it's okay. Like I write in spurts, and that's okay.
Mhm. That's the way I am.
Mhm.
So, where
Now, if
can
I'm on a deadline, I will have a goal of writing one word because, hello, my cat coming here. So if I write one word, I can get, you can always generally write more than one word. So if I just write one word, I've won for the day. I'm
Mhm.
not, I don't have to beat myself up. It's fine. And then every other word after that is a bonus. So that's
have
always good.
have you ever done NaNoWriMo?
Oh, yes. My very first book was a NaNoWriMo. I won it in 2011, and then that book got published in October of 2012.
Oh my gosh, I started Nano when I was in 2014. I still have not. I think I actually lost that book somehow, but because I mean I put it on an external hard drive and somehow that got lost
Oh,
along with a few
no.
others.
Yeah.
But it was so much of a mess. That's why I found out pantsing. Well, okay, for adult type books, pantsing doesn't always work for me. But if
Yeah.
I have some brainstorming ideas and then I start pantsing, I was gonna do, and here's the funny part for this book, the Theodore the Benevolent Bear, which is the first book in what I'm working on, is called the Stuffadoodle Chronicles.
Hmm.
Yes, I have toys. I crochet toys too, but I have toys that I've incorporated into my books, like this one.
Oh, you made that?
I did in a
That's
crochet class. Yep,
awesome.
like that one, and I got a couple of others that I've worked on. But yeah, I made a pumpkin too, and yeah.
Oh,
So that was really inspiring. That's what got me started with the children's books. And well, I did a book called Maggie's Gravy Train Adventure that really needs to be revamped because it's not. It's an early reader, I think, but
yeah.
yeah, it needs some work.
That's awesome.
But
I wish I could have it some kind of a a crafty skill. I'm the least crafty person in the history of ever. I think, which is sad being a pre-K teacher. You think you should have a little bit of craftiness, but I do not. So
well,
thankfully my assistant does. So
it's not for everybody.
I want it to. I'm just not that coordinated.
But yeah, so I've done knitting, but I like crochet better
Yeah.
because you got so much more that you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where I came up with the plot stitch because I write and I crochet and I'm stitching my plot together.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
You can write that into a book and sell it.
Oh yeah, I'm slowly working on the method, but I'm doing the method book and I'm gonna call my editing business Plot Stitch Editorial Services.
I love that.
Yep. And I'm
You
probably
got
gonna
everything all planned out.
yeah, I wanted to I can't I've taken an editing and proofreading with Chicago Manual of Style course,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna keep the subscription to that in case I have to look up something for line edits, but that was tedious, 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 let me tell you.
Mhm.
So then I started doing this intro to children's book editing course. I'm like, I like this so much better. I can still
Mhm.
use what I've learned in the Chicago Manual of Style to line edit, these manuscripts because they give you sample picture book manuscripts. And this one woman was impressed. This one girl in my class was impressed with the way that I was able to edit nonfiction. And I think that experience is based on my writing because I'm a professional. I've done professional freelance writing too. So I
Yeah.
think that's where my nonfiction editing experience comes through. But I will.
Nonfiction is hard, I think, to
It
edit.
is. It is. But if you've written it, it's not. I mean, it's harder because you have to do a lot more research. But if you've done written short forms of nonfiction, you basically know what you're looking for. and can tell an author, hey, you need to do more research to get this time period. You need to dig deeper to get more factual stuff to add with the narration. So I mean, I'm not perfect at it, but I know a little bit more. I don't know that I would do line edits in fiction. If I did fiction, I would probably do more developmental edits or manuscript critiques, because I can tell people where to research.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So I know what my skill sets are. So I know what services I can provide. And I want to eventually become an author, maybe do some coaching to help with the
awesome.
Because there was one editor, I was listening to a podcast, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was an old one. But it was the between the book, the books between, I think, and it's inactive now. But she was talking. She is Scholastic librarian, I think, talking to an editor, and I like what she says, and I really like this. She starts working with an author from if the author has an idea but doesn't know where to go, she starts helping them develop that idea. And that's one of the things I want to do too, eventually.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. You can start helping from the first before they even possibly get, I mean, they wouldn't be finished with it. And then that way you can start off where they might not have to have so many months of going down maybe a path they shouldn't have went down.
Right. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And but the thing, and I told the instructor too, I told her, I said, I can't edit the illustration, make sure the illustrations match with the text, or I can't make sure the text matches the illustrations because I can't see the illustrations.
Right.
But I can tell you where an illustration could be to enhance the text.
And that's good.
And she even told me that when I'm editing, let them know that I'm blind, because that way, I was afraid to do that because some people, if they tell you, if you tell them you're blind, they kind of look the other way.
Well, that's sad.
Because they don't know a lot of people don't know how to work with blind people. But see, with me, that's an asset in a way, because I've got more attention to detail, and I can find these little things now that I've got, since the library, the National Library Service for the blind and print disabled, they've now started this Braille reader program. See, I've got this baby right here.
Oh yeah.
And that helps me a lot that's why when I'm doing developmental, I just use my screen reader to read through the scenes and chapters to do the big picture edits. And then when it comes to more finite stuff, that's where my line editing skills come in.
Oh, that's good. See, I couldn't line edit for anything.
Yeah, but as a professional writer, you have to have a grasp. I mean, I'm not perfect at it, but you have to have a grasp on grammar.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can do the I'm afraid to mess somebody else's grammar up on their stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just look at word, I look at spelling and sentence structure. If I think a sentence like words like that, the filler words, if I think it's got too many of those, I'll give them a list of filler words that I've gotten from a website that I put together. And I say, okay, now that we've done as you're doing the line edits, let's take this word out, read these words aloud without, read the sentences aloud with the word, and then read it without the word. If it makes sense without the word, take it out.
Now, sometimes I'll do that in developmental edits, especially if there's a word that has been overused. I'll put that in there that it's been overused. Or if it's a word that might not be what they think it should mean, I'll put that in there too. So I do a little line edits as I go through, but just if things jump out at me, or that would jump out, I don't go into detail.
Right. And I can see, and like if a period has 2 spaces after it, and I used to think that's how, because when I was in typing, when I took typing in middle school, that was the norm. Now it's not.
My first book was double spaced after the periods. Yep. I had to go through and change every one of those.
Yep, because you don't, I mean, I've seen that in business stuff too, but I doing this course has given me the chance to practice on other manuscripts, even though they are they're picture books. I'm not the best at picture books, but I've done like the big picture, like there's some gaps you need to fill in, and I've asked questions. Why does this character, like there's one, for example, and they're samples, so they're not, I'm not giving any spoilers away. Right. But there's one, the character, Mono and Tess, yes. And Mono wanted to have a quiet day. I'm like, why does he want to be quiet? Why does he want to eat alone? Why does he want to read alone? Why does he not want to play with his friend Tess? Yes. Is there something, and then she gave me some hints about other questions that I could ask to follow up with that. So that's just an example. So that gave me the, and I like that kind of feedback. She liked the work that I was doing, but yet she gave me suggestions to further dig deeper into the story.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do in developmental edits. I'll write, why does this happen? Why did this happen? Why did she do this or something like that? And if an author can answer me back and be like, it's doing this because of this, and then a lot of times they'll go back and put details in to make that more apparent, and it helps. I know as a writer, sometimes it's in my brain, so I'll type something out assuming that the reader already knows it because I know it. But if somebody else reads it, they're not going to know that. So
girl, I'm the same way.
Yeah. So when I do the edits, and I'll put like, why did this happen? And if they can go back and be like, oh yeah, this happened because of this, and then they'll go back and add it. So I think that's another big reason why people need developmental editors, is to find the things that you think is obvious because you wrote the book, and it's obvious to you because it's, it's your world. It came from your mind. But if somebody else read it, it wouldn't be obvious.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've had to learn is about grounding.
Yeah.
Yep. That's one of those toughies, but I had to learn about the world building.
Yeah.
So where can people find you online?
You can find me on my website at kellymartinbooks.com, and all my links are there. I'm on TikTok at Kelly Martin Books. Sometimes to Kelly Martin Books and sometimes to Kelly Martin Author, so I have to remember. I'm on YouTube at YouTube/C/Kelly Martin Books. On Instagram at Kelly Martin Author, but all the links are all on my website, and that is kellymartinbooks.com.
Yep, and it's all going to be.
My books are there too.
Yep, and it's going to be all in the description and the show notes too.
Oh, good.
So we could sit and talk shop all day, Kelly. I'm telling you.
And I would do it.
I know, me too. So, do you have any last words that you want to add before we close out?
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I rarely get to talk about editing. Usually it's book inspiration, which I love, but editing is a whole other, fun thing to talk about. And I'm so glad that you wanted to talk and especially talk about editing. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I love this because this is something that, this is a subject that I needed to talk about because this is something I'm invested in. I felt like the Lord was leading me down this path. So, here we are.
It's a good path to be on.
Yeah. So y'all, we challenge you to go out there and read to get inspired, write something inspiring, or if you feel led, edit something inspiring, share your creation with the world. For when you've touched one life, you've touched thousands. Thanks for joining us on Inspirational Journeys. And remember, your story matters. Have a blessed day, everyone.